Hello, I'm Chayo Cervantez. I'm born and raised in Southern Oregon. I'm coming from White City. This is a story of how I became radicalized and how I got involved in my community. So when I started to get more involved in my community, I believe it was my sophomore year, and I had already been a year into working with an organization here in Medford called LifeArt, which they focus on preventing and bringing awareness to depression and suicide through art therapy, which Life Art did change a big part of my life, gave me many skills that I learned and many opportunities. When I began to more radicalize myself instead of just volunteering and doing stuff like that, I went to a conference here in Southern Oregon with RCC called EMO. I remember I was sitting there, it was my sophomore year, and the conference is usually for juniors and seniors, but my counselors let me go. And one of the classes I took was given by Montse Alegria and Erika Ledesma, and they talked about identity. And that was the first time it was ever talked about to me, or somebody was teaching me about it. I had read a book called Bird of Paradise by Raquel Cepeda, and she talked a lot about her intersectionality as a woman coming from the Dominican Republic and living in the Bronx, how she identified herself. And I remember when I read that book, I was like, whoa, I'm so much more than just a woman or just Latina. And going to that workshop and having Erika and Monse talk about being Chicana and being all these other things, it was just I was like, whoa, I'm a lot more power than I thought. And I remember I was like, when I saw Erika teaching, I was like, who is she? And I was all dang, I want to be like her. And a couple months passed. I went to Cesar Chavez leadership conference at Southern Oregon University. And I did take another workshop given by Erika Ledesma about being involved in community and about the Chicano movement. And it was super empowering. And I remember she was telling the story, and not a lot of the kids knew what was going on, and I was the only one raising my hand. And Erika looks at me and she's all why don't you, she's tell me what you know, in front of everybody. And I sat there and I was like, what do I know? And I spit out some few facts, and Erika just kind of laughed, and she finished the class. And I wanted to go up to her afterwards, but there was a ton of people. I was like, whatever. We went to lunch, and I'm talking to some of my friends, and somebody touches my back. And I turn around, and it's Erika, and she's like, you're such a badass. And I was like, you're a badass. And then I remember we exchanged contact info, and she kept up with me. We talked a little bit. She invited me out for a few things. And the biggest thing that she invited me to was the Mecha conference at U of O, the Raza Unida conference. My first little plug-in real quick. The art is done by Julio Salgado. Super sick shirt, my first Mecha shirt. I have all the shirts. I went, and it changed my life. I remember the workshops that I took, they were so empowering, and it was so cool to see so many brown youth in one space. And I'm talking it was a ton of people. And the biggest thing that I remember, I was like, holy crap, blew me away was we did a little rally, a political rally, and we made signs, and then we marched around campus, and we were chanting. And I have that was the biggest moment of empowerment I've ever felt, and I've never felt that way again. And it's sometimes I wish I could go back, because it was such an amazing experience. And I remember on the bus ride home, I even thought, I was all I can't go to this conference and come back home and not doing anything. That was just a waste. Would have been a waste of my time, a waste of my energy. So when I came back full force. I got super involved in my community. I was running my own workshops. I was facilitating my own panels. I taught at Cesar Chavez for 2 years. And then this last February, I had the chance to teach at Mecha, which was an even more incredible experience. I taught about how Chicanas and Latinxes fit into feminism and where our story comes from. A lot of my learning has been through you know, like my own personal, like reading my own books, kind of like venturing on my own, and as well as like working with my community and working with other women and other organizations. Had an amazing support group since I've started, and I still do, and it's been many of the same people, and they all know I'm super grateful for all of them. But working in that, I also found, like, in working within the community, I found a huge passion of mine, and which I never really thought would be, was going into education to become a teacher. I currently work at a middle school. I work with EOD. I specialize in working with EOD kids and the kids who come from Mexico. I teach them English. And to go to work every day is like an immense blessing. I have fun every day. It's always something new with the kids. But just as much as I teach them, they teach me. And to give back to the middle school that I went to when I was in middle school is even crazier, because these kids, not only do they have another person in the building that looks like them, they have somebody who can relate to them, that knows how it is to go through these schools in our district. As I know they don't say it much because they're kids, I know my presence there is very much wanted and needed, and I know they appreciate me. Not too long ago we had certified staff appreciation week, and kids like wrote me little notes and stuff, and I remember they all came up to me in first period and like they handed them to me, and I'm like crying, and they're all like, "Miss C, why are you crying?" And I was like, "You guys are just so nice." And yeah, I love my job. I love my kids.